You got the promotion. The email came through, the title changed, and the deposit hit your account on Friday morning. You stared at the glowing screen of your phone, looking at that new, higher number, waiting for the relief to wash over you. The relief you were promised. The relief you worked 60-hour weeks for. But the panic didn't leave. It just changed its clothes. You still feel that quiet, metallic taste of anxiety in the back of your throat. You just hide it better now. You dress it up in nicer brands and a better zip code. Society tells you that if you just earn a little more, you will finally breathe. But there is a silent, mathematical law governing your life right now, quietly consuming every extra dollar you bring in. And until you understand it, your next raise will never buy your freedom. It will only buy you a heavier chain. There is a reason why someone in your office making half your salary sleeps deeply through the night, while you stare at the ceiling running mental calculations at 3 a.m. There is a specific invisible mechanism that activates the exact moment your income increases. And there is a trap hidden inside your very next paycheck. Most people believe the formula for freedom is brutally simple. Earn more, stress less. It is the central religion of the modern professional. You are told that your financial constraints are simply an income problem. If you feel trapped, it is because you are not earning enough. So you grind. You sacrifice your evenings. You optimize your morning routine. You take the promotion that requires you to travel twice a month, believing that once you cross a certain magical threshold, the financial pressure will evaporate. But look at your life right now. Think about what you were earning 5 years ago. If your income has doubled in the last 5 years, why hasn't your stress cut in half? If you could time travel and tell your younger self how much money you make today, your younger self would think you were rich. They would assume your life is a paradise of options and leisure. But you do not feel rich. You do not feel free. You feel like a highly paid machine, functioning exactly at the limit of its capacity. Because the game is rigged against your psychology, you have been sold a lie about what money actually does when it enters your life. Money does not automatically create space. In the absence of extreme conscious intervention, money creates complexity. It creates obligation. It creates a subtle, creeping dependency that disguises itself as success. You think you are leveling up in the world, but you are actually just raising the stakes of your own survival. You are not buying freedom. You are buying more expensive consequences for failure. To understand why you feel so constrained, despite doing everything right, you have to visualize what is actually happening to your environment. Imagine you are a deep-sea diver. When you are just starting out in your career, when your income is low, you are swimming near the surface. The water is clear, the pressure is light. You do not have much heavy gear, and you are vulnerable to the changing weather, but you can move easily. You can breach the surface and breathe the air. Then, you get a raise. You move deeper into the ocean. The deeper you go, the more fascinating the environment becomes. You see things you couldn't see before. You have access to better territories. But something else happens as you descend. The physical weight of the water above you increases. The pressure on your suit multiplies. At the surface, a small mistake was just a splash. Down here, in the deep water, a small crack in your mask is catastrophic. You are surrounded by more water, more resources, more status, but you are physically restricted by the pressure of your environment. This is what a high income does to your life. The pressure is the invisible weight of your new baseline. When you earn more, you do not just buy better things. You buy an entirely new standard of operating. The neighborhood you move into requires a certain type of maintenance. The car you buy to match the neighborhood requires premium fuel, expensive insurance, and a specialized mechanic. The peers you associate with at this new depth have expectations. The restaurants you casually meet at cost 4 times as much as the ones at the surface. The vacations you take are no longer just road trips. They are international flights with boutique hotels, because you tell yourself you work hard and you deserve to properly recover. You are swimming in deeper, wealthier waters. But the pressure is crushing you. And the most terrifying part is that you cannot simply take off your suit. You cannot just float back to the surface, because the pressure has fundamentally altered your anatomy. Your identity is now tied to the depth you operate at. You look at the people swimming near the surface, the ones with lower incomes, and you think they are struggling. You think you have evolved past them, but they can breathe. And you are hyperventilating through a highly engineered, incredibly expensive oxygen tube, terrified of what happens if the flow stops for even a month. You have trapped yourself inside your own success. Every time you push the walls of your life outward to make more room, the furniture immediately expands to fill the space. You are left with the exact same amount of empty air, but now the room is heavier. It is harder to heat. It is harder to maintain. This is where the psychological shift begins to happen, usually in the quiet moments when you are alone with your bank app. You start to notice a persistent, gnawing friction. You make good money, objectively good money, but at the end of the month, the surplus is a ghost. It vanishes into the machinery of your lifestyle. You transfer a little to savings, pay the credit cards, pay the mortgage, pay the subscriptions, and you are right back to zero. You are a high-flow conduit for capital, but none of it sticks. You are just a very efficient middleman between your employer and your lifestyle expenses. This phenomenon has a name. It is called Parkinson's law of money. The law states that expenses rise to meet income. It is a law as reliable as gravity. But what the financial textbooks miss is the psychological component. It is not just your expenses that rise. It is your justifications that evolve. So, what happens when you finally realize that inflation isn't the invisible force eating your money, but your own adaptation is? When you were broke, spending $100 felt like a major strategic decision. Now, $100 is a rounding error. It is the cost of a Tuesday night dinner because you were too tired to cook after a brutal meeting. You begin to weaponize your fatigue to justify your spending. You tell yourself, I am trading money for time. So you outsource your laundry. You outsource your meals. You outsource your transportation. You pay a premium for convenience at every single touch point of your life. But here is the critical question. What are you actually doing with that time you bought back? You are not writing a novel. You are not sitting in silence. You are not building an empire. You are using that saved time to recover from the job that is forcing you to buy the convenience in the first place. It is a closed loop of exhaustion and expenditure. You are financing your own burnout. You have adapted to a level of comfort that now feels like the absolute minimum baseline for survival. And this brings a specific kind of quiet pain. The pain of realizing that your high salary has not made you an owner of your life. It has made you an elite employee of your own lifestyle. You cannot stop working. You cannot take a sabbatical. You cannot pivot to a lower paying career that you actually find meaningful. Because the machine you built requires a very specific amount of fuel every single month just to idle. You have constructed a beautiful, comfortable, high-status prison, and you are the warden and the inmate simultaneously. You lock the door from the inside every morning when you commute to work. You look out the window of your expensive car at the traffic around you, realizing that everyone else on the highway is trapped in the exact same paradox. Everyone is driving to a job they merely tolerate, to pay for a lifestyle they barely have time to enjoy, to impress people they do not even genuinely like. Let us strip away the emotion for a moment and look at the brutal, unyielding mathematics of this trap. Because the numbers validate exactly what you are feeling in your chest. Let's do the math that your financial advisor avoids because it doesn't earn him a commission. Imagine two professionals. Professional A makes $70,000 a year. Professional B makes $150,000 a year. Society looks at professional B and assigns them higher status, higher success, and assumed financial invincibility. Professional A takes home about $4,500 a month after taxes. Their rent is $1,500. Their car is an older model, fully paid off. Their baseline survival cost, the absolute minimum they need to keep the lights on, the car running, and their stomach full, is roughly $2,500. They have $2,000 left over. They are not rich, but their life is fundamentally light. Professional B takes home about $9,000 a month. But Professional B has upgraded to the deep water. Their mortgage is $3,500. Their luxury car lease is $800. Their insurance is higher. Their property taxes are higher. Their standard for dining, entertainment, and personal grooming is fundamentally different. Professional B's baseline survival cost is $7,500 a month. They have $1,500 left over. Do you see the trap? Professional B makes more than double the income, but has less actual liquidity at the end of the month. But the math gets much darker when we introduce turbulence. If Professional A loses their job, they need to find $2,500 a month to survive. They could drive an Uber, pick up weekend shifts, or lean on a very modest emergency fund for 6 months. Their lifestyle is agile. If Professional B loses their job, they need to find $7,500 a month. Immediately. You cannot easily side hustle your way to $7,500 a month. Professional B's emergency fund burns 3 times as fast. The distance between their high income and absolute financial ruin is terrifyingly short. This is the mathematical reality of Parkinson's law applied to modern life. As your fixed costs rise, your margin of error vanishes entirely. You are playing a high-speed game with no brakes. The higher your income goes, the larger your obligations become, and the more dependent you become on the very system that is stressing you out. You are not building wealth. You are just inflating your cash flow. An inflated cash flow is incredibly fragile. It requires perfect, uninterrupted performance. One bad quarter, one company restructuring, one medical emergency, and the entire architecture of the $150,000 lifestyle collapses under its own massive weight. You are balancing a mansion on the tip of a needle. This brings us to the ultimate realization. The realization that destroys the false assumption you have carried your entire career. It recontextualizes every hour you have spent chasing the next promotion. Wealth is not money. Wealth is the number of bad options you can survive without fear. Read that sentence in your mind again. Wealth is the number of bad options you can survive without fear. Think about the person making half your salary, the one who leaves the office at 5 p.m. on the dot, the one who doesn't check their phone during dinner. They possess something you currently do not. They possess leverage. Because their survival floor is so incredibly low, they do not have to absorb abuse. When the boss demands they work the weekend, they can politely decline. What is the worst that happens? They get fired? Their lifestyle costs so little that their modest savings can sustain them for 2 years. They are negotiating from a fortress of low overhead. You, on the other hand, are negotiating from a glass house of high fixed costs. You have to say yes to the weekend work. You have to swallow the corporate politics. You have to accept the bad options because you literally cannot afford the temporary disruption of your income. Your high salary has stripped you of your autonomy. You cannot walk away from a toxic client. You cannot walk away from a bad manager. You might even be struggling to walk away from a bad relationship, because decoupling your lives would mean decoupling your dual income required to maintain the mortgage. You have traded your optionality for upholstery. But imagine what happens when you reverse this. Imagine the profound shift in your identity when you finally decouple your income from your lifestyle. You keep the high salary, but you artificially freeze your baseline. You refuse to expand the walls of your room. You refuse to swim deeper into the high-pressure water. Suddenly, the extra money is no longer acting as fuel for a heavier lifestyle. It becomes something entirely different. It becomes captured energy. It becomes stored silence. It becomes the ability to pause. When you have a massive gap between what you earn and what you are forced to spend, your entire posture in the world changes. You stop walking into meetings with the subconscious scent of desperation. You stop fearing your superiors because you no longer need them to survive. Your self-image shifts from a high-earning employee to an independent operator who just happens to be consulting for their current company. You develop a quiet, unbothered calmness. You realize that the ultimate status symbol in the modern world is not a luxury watch. It is a blank calendar. It is an unhurried mind. It is the ability to sit in a room and say, "No, that doesn't work for me," without your heart rate elevating by a single beat. You begin to walk slower. You speak with less urgency. Because the psychological pressure of maintaining an inflated life has been lifted off your shoulders. But here is where you must be incredibly careful, because the moment you understand this, the moment you truly feel the sting of this realization, your brain will try to overcorrect. I see this happen constantly to ambitious people who suddenly wake up to the reality of Parkinson's law. They panic. They feel a sudden, intense aversion to their own life. They want to burn it all down. They decide to sell the house, sell the car, cancel every subscription, and adopt a monastic, aggressive form of extreme frugality. They swing entirely from mindless consumption to obsessive deprivation. Do not do this. Extreme frugality is just the exact same psychological trap, painted a different color. If you suddenly slash all your expenses out of panic, you are still letting money control your identity. You are still performing. You are just performing poverty instead of performing wealth. And more importantly, it is completely unsustainable. You will resent it. Your partner will resent it. You will feel deprived, and within 6 months, the psychological rubber band will snap, and you will buy something wildly expensive just to feel alive again. You cannot out-budget a mindset problem. You do not need to punish yourself to build wealth. You do not need to drink terrible coffee or live in a neighborhood you hate just to prove a point. The goal is not to suffer. The goal is to detach. The exact error almost everyone makes at this stage is trying to change their physical environment before they change their internal metric for success. You must stop viewing spending as a reward for your hard work. Spending is not a reward. Spending is a transfer of your life force to someone else. The true reward for your hard work is keeping the life force for yourself. You keep the comfortable apartment, but you stop looking at real estate apps for a bigger one. You keep the reliable car, but you stop walking through the dealership lots when you get your annual bonus. You keep eating out, but you stop doing it by default just because you are tired. You learn to be deeply, profoundly satisfied with enough. You make your lifestyle entirely invisible to your income. You do not announce this to your friends. You do not post about your new financial philosophy. You just quietly, systematically stop expanding the room. The next time you get a raise, the exact trap that has caught you every time before will present itself again. The deposit will hit your account, the numbers on the screen will go up, the world will expect you to upgrade. The real estate agent will tell you what you qualify for, the dealership will send you an offer, your peers will ask where you are going to celebrate. But this time, everything is different. You do not look at that new number and imagine what it can buy you. You look at it and see exactly what it is: a defensive wall, a measurable distance between you and the things you no longer want to do. The trap hidden in your next paycheck only closes if you reach for the bait. But you do not have to reach. You can let the money sit there. You can let it quietly accumulate in the dark. You can let it build a fortress around your mind. Society will not understand you. They will wonder why you aren't upgrading. They will wonder why you aren't playing the game anymore. Let them wonder. While they are busy swimming deeper into the crushing pressure, buying heavier chains, and financing their own exhaustion, you will be breathing easily near the surface, unbothered, untethered, and finally, quietly free. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. See you soon!